tell us what you think who is next.
Well, I'm just taking it one step at a time. I'll fight anybody, you know what I mean? I don't discriminate from anybody. I'm the best fighter in the world, and there's no man that can beat me.
Does this mean that Holyfield is or is not your next opponent?
Well, he's in my future, but I don't think he's in my immediate future. But come on, Holyfield, don't matter. That's kids' play.
November 9th, 1996, WBA Super Heavyweight Champion, 30-year-old Mike Tyson, makes his first title defense against the 34-year-old former world champion, Evander Holyfield. Initially, this fight was supposed to take place 6 years earlier in June of 1990. But 4 months prior to that date, Tyson unexpectedly lost by knockout to James Buster Douglas. Then a new date was set for November 8, 1991. But first, Tyson broke a rib, due to which the battle was postponed, and then he was accused of rape, and in February 1992 was sentenced to prison. Tyson was released in 1995, and in March 1996 had won the WBC belt. However, he abandoned that belt, choosing to fight WBA champion Bruce Seldon instead of his mandatory WBC defense against Lennox Lewis. Tyson beat Seldon in just 1 minute and 49 seconds, and 2 months later he fought against Holyfield. When this fight was announced, Tyson was a favorite at 25-1. Although closer to the battle, the ratio decreased. Still, Iron Mike remained a solid favorite at 6-1. Holyfield lost 2 of his last 4 fights, and a year earlier in a 3-fight series against Riddick Bowe, lost for the first time in his career by knockout.
A short right hand from Riddick Bowe.
Holyfield was considered a boxer whose career was rapidly fading away, and the fight with Tyson was only supposed to accelerate this process. Tyson in 1996 was not the same Iron Mike as he was in the late 1980s, but still, Tyson's aura played a big role. Although many admitted that Iron Mike was a little rusty, they still believed that if anyone posed a threat to him, it certainly wasn't Holyfield. But despite all this, the excitement around the battle was colossal. The MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas was packed to capacity with 16,000 tickets sold, bringing in $14 million. At the time, the fight set a record for pay-per-view broadcast sales at 1.5 million, bringing an estimated $80 million. The boxers' fees were also huge. Holyfield received $12 million and Tyson $30 million. In the first few minutes of the fight, the unexpected became apparent, and that was that Holyfield appeared physically stronger than Tyson. Being in a clinch, Holyfield knocked Tyson back without any problems. Moreover, Tyson's aura had no effect on Evander, and he did not hold back during his attacks, as it often happened with Iron Mike's rivals. But it was not just Tyson who was surprised. According to Holyfield, he did not expect Tyson to attack so often with a right cross. In the second round, Tyson found himself in a very unusual situation. Unwillingly pressed with his back to the ropes and under the attack of an opponent, he missed an incoming hard left hook.
Holyfield also showing more hand speed.
Tail into my honeymoon in November 8th. This will be a real attrition battle.
Starting from round 3, Holyfield increasingly began to use his advantage in physical strength and began to literally force Tyson into clinches. But Evander also did not forget to work at striking his target. It was at these moments that Tyson had a chance to deliver accurate attacks. But even when he succeeded, his punching power did not shock Holyfield, which was another surprise, especially against the background of the fact that Holyfield lost a year prior by a heavy knockout to Riddick Bowe. In the 5th round, Mike Tyson noticeably improves. He works in a variety of ways. demonstrating his best qualities, and for the first time since the beginning of the fight, we can confidently say that he won the round.
If it bears true. Hooked by Holyfield.
Tyson and Evander has the reach. He should use it.
Tyson starts the 6th round aggressively, but Holyfield quickly suppresses this aggression. A little later, in an exchange at close range, their heads collide, and Tyson receives a cut above his left eye.
That's a big left hook.
After 4 rounds, they'll go to the
Came back.
cut. Not looking good. The chance of Holyfield.
After that, the situation began to heat up, and it ended with the fact that Tyson, being in an unsuccessful position, was knocked down with a blow to the chest.
I think he was a little more balanced.
At the end of the round, Holyfield tried to build on his success. The moment turned out to be one of the most spectacular in the whole fight. Starting from the 7th round, the boxers spent increasingly more time in clinches, initiated by Holyfield. But still, there are occasional bursts of activity.
Always know to the past what tools to bring to a fight. And he's proving it again here. Look at this corner.
In the final third of the fight, Tyson looked tired, unlike his opponent, and this has a serious impact on the overall picture. At this stage of the fight, it is clear that Holyfield's blows are harder than Tyson's. At the same time, Holyfield easily takes the hardest hits from Iron Mike with little problem.
A right hook followed by a left.
About 20 seconds before the end of the 10th round, Holyfield shakes Tyson with a right-hand strike. It seems like Mike has managed to avoid big problems, but he misses another hard right from Holyfield. There are only 10 seconds left until the end of the round, and for Tyson, it was a very long 10 seconds. Mike held out until the bell, but the course of events suggested that Mike would not be able to reach the end of the next round.
All right, let's take a look. Just when it looked like he was getting tired, he gets fired up. And here comes that champion's heart. It's a series of punches, some of which miss, but most.
In the 11th round, Holyfield confidently and even easily brings the fight to its logical conclusion, inflicting Tyson's second defeat in his career, which, like the first, came early. Whether this victory is Holyfield's greatest feat is difficult to say, but it is certainly the most notable success in Evander's career. But for Mike Tyson, the result of this fight marked the beginning of the end. In November 1986, he won his first championship title, and in November of 1996, he fought for the last time in his career as the reigning world champion.
He's the winner by way of technical knockout in a stunning upset. The new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Evander, the real deal, Holyfield.
I went in there, I fought and gave my best. I was tired and just kept fighting. And I got caught in some exchange, and then he fought a hell of a fight. And I just commend you. Thank you very much. I have the greatest respect for you.
I thank Mike Tyson for giving me the opportunity to challenge him. I realized to be the heavyweight champion of the world, that I'm gonna have to fight the best man, and I always prepare myself to fight the best man. Every time Mike fought, I always watched him. When Mike went away, I kind of lost the desire. I lost something when Mike was gone.
June 28, 1997, a rematch between Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. The public's interest in the second fight with Holyfield was greater than the first. The first fight brought in an income of about $100 million, while the total income for the second fight was estimated to be $180 million. This was reflected in the royalties. Tyson was guaranteed $30 million, and Holyfield, as the winner of the first fight and therefore the reigning champion, received $35 million. These were the largest royalties in boxing history at the time. Before the second fight, Tyson again was the favorite, but only at 2-1. One of the reasons why Tyson, now a loser by knockout, was still considered the favorite was due to the PR campaign of Tyson's team against the referee Mitch Halpern. Halpern, who worked in the first fight, allowed Holyfield to clinch quite often, while ignoring his head-forward tactics, which caused problems for Tyson. Therefore, when Tyson's manager found out that the same referee was assigned to the second fight, they forced his replacement, stating that after the first fight, Tyson was convinced that Halpern was biased against him, which in turn would affect Tyson's morale. The Nevada State Athletic Commission met them halfway, and the legendary Mills Lane was appointed to the role of the referee.
Protect yourself at all times. Any questions from the challenger, chief second. Any questions from the champion, chief second. Let's get it on.
The sense of anticipation as before the first fight is almost palpable. Here we go, fight 2, round 1. A straight right by Mike Tyson, shrugged off by Evander Holyfield.
Mike came in with the same thing, 1-2, looking to go over the jab.
And a lot of movement.
By putting Mills Lane in charge of the ring, the hope was that Iron Mike would feel more at ease, and Holyfield would be limited in the behavior that Tyson felt influenced the first fight. Indeed, Lane broke the first clinch that Holyfield tried to use and reprimanded him, allowing Mike to be agile and dynamic at the beginning of the fight.
I'm going to let this guy get pushed back.
It seemed that this match was really a new confrontation and not merely a continuation of the 1996 battle. Then, 45 seconds before the end of the round, Evander went on the attack and shook Tyson. Iron Mike tried to answer, but his initial agility seemed to evaporate under Holyfield's attacks.
Mike hit him back with the left hook. This is going to be a war.
What a first round!
He was in trouble there. He shook Tyson. He shook him.
The 6th round of the first.
At the end of the first round, it was sad to watch a different Mike Tyson slowly return to his corner. At the beginning of the next round, it seemed that Mike pulled himself together and started the round quite briskly. However, there was a serious clash of heads, from which Tyson received a cut. The important point was that when Holyfield went on the attack, Mike, instead of responding, appealed to the referee at the risk of missing incoming strikes. This obsession with the referee played a negative role. Managers and coaches had convinced Mike that only the referee was to blame for the defeat in the first fight. But for some reason, no one paid attention or did not want to pay attention to the obvious gaps in his physical and psychological preparation. The third round began. Now following a pattern, Tyson starts off confidently again. And this round became one of Mike's best rounds against Holyfield, including their first fight.
Nice right hand by Mike. He is trying to get that right hand home.
Gives him an earful. Back comes Tyson on the belt. Tyson with a short left hook to the head of Holyfield. A right hand by Mike Tyson to that.
But then came the event that made his confrontation so scandalous. Holyfield goes down, and when rising, hits Tyson in the face. And then Tyson bites Evander's right ear.
What happened here?
He got bit, I think.
Evander Holyfield, look out, he's pushed right here above us by Tyson.
He's got bit in the ear. Well, and that hurts like hell, but he certainly had a big bite. And that's a dangerous bite.
The referee deducted 2 points from Tyson, and Mike tried to convince him that the opponent's bloody ear was the result of a blow and not a bite. Lane replied that this excuse was nonsense. It may seem surprising, but the fight continued, and it was the most spectacular part of the whole confrontation. But unfortunately, it was short, because Tyson could no longer be stopped, and he bit Holyfield again, this time on the left ear, but with less damage to the ear. When the first bite occurred, Lane consulted with the doctor on Holyfield's condition and if the fight could continue. The doctor said yes, and Evander said the same thing. But during the break, Lane found bite marks on his other ear, and he decided that the fight should definitely not continue, and disqualified Tyson. Here again, Lane's authority played a role, as representatives of Tyson's team would have immediately jumped on any other referee and began to argue. In this case, no one dared to do it, but Mike was eager to continue the fight and tried to break through to Holyfield. Tyson did not achieve his goal, but one of the most famous photos in the history of boxing was born in that moment. Immediately after the fight, Tyson stated that his biting came in reaction to headbutts from Holyfield. But 2 days later, Mike appeared on television to apologize. "I just flipped my lid. I didn't know why I did that," Tyson said. An apology was not enough. Mike was fined $3 million and stripped of his license for 15 months. In addition to the end of the Tyson-Holyfield confrontation, several eras ended at once that day. If anyone was in doubt, it was now obvious that the era of Mike Tyson had come to an end. It also spelled the end of the era of Don King as the most influential man in boxing, as this fight was his last with Tyson. After that, a long-term trial between Tyson and King began, and King's influence began to rapidly weaken. Mills Lane career was ended too. This fight was the last mega fight of his career. After that, he worked on 16 more fights, but not one of them could even come close to the fight between Tyson and Holyfield.
Mills, why did you stop the fight? Because of the first bite on the ear or the second?
The second one. The first one was a foul. I took 2 points. The doctor said he could continue. So let it continue. And he beat him on the other ear. I told him, I said, one more time like that, that's it. You're gone. I told them both. Knocked the rough stuff up. And he bit him again. I said, that's it. You're gone.
As Holyfield leaves the ring, the condition of the ear, could he have continued? And did you disqualify him because of the foul or because he couldn't continue?
Oh, no. I disqualified Tyson for the second foul. I told him, do not do that again. You do, you're gone.
So he could have continued. The physical condition of Evander Holyfield was such a view that he could have continued had he not disqualified Tyson.
Well, I didn't ask the doctor. I never reached that point. I wasn't going to ask the doctor. That wasn't a question. That kind of foul, I mean, you got to take a position sometime, somewhere. That was it.
In 2002, Lane suffered a stroke, which left him speechless and paralyzed on the right side of his body. As of 2021, Mills Lane is 83 years old and lives in Reno, Nevada. In 2013, he was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Tyson and Holyfield became friends years later, leaving all their troubles in the past, and both boxers were inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Please do not forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any new episodes about the boxing legends of the past. See you next time.